Welcome back everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're dealing with another seasonal championship. This one's called pop-up headlights, and yeah, we're going to be B-class cars with pop-up headlights. So we've got a fair few variety of cars. We've got a few classic muscle cars, a few classic European sports cars, and yeah, a couple of 90s JDM cars as well. So yeah, we've got a nice variety, and yeah, it's nice to see that they were changing up the kind of vehicles that you can choose for a seasonal championship. Usually it's just, you know, certain cars in a certain class or certain types of cars, but to be based on a physical trait of the car, like pop-up headlights, is, yeah, rather good as far as I'm concerned. It's usually the only other physical trait is like it's a four-door saloon or something like that. So yeah, to have it as pop-up headlights is pretty cool as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, hopefully they continue that with that trend in the future with other seasonal championships, but for now we are slowly making our way to this championship in this Lincoln Co racing car, which we're having the best of luck driving at the moment. Yeah, this is not the car we're going to be able to use, but it is a fantastic racing car regardless, and one that, yeah, I really do enjoy in terms of the way it handles, due to being able to pop up one of its rear wheels. I've seen plenty of classic hot hatchbacks, so yeah, to get it
turn right.
Getting a car like this is a real surprise, and
in 200 yards, turn left.
The fact that they've been able to actually, you know, put it into the game is also pretty cool as well.
Turn left.
Right, so
you have arrived
Cathedral Circuit for the first race. Let's see what other race, where else we're going to be racing. So mostly around near the city. Got another one not far from us, and then one at the stadium. So we've got the likes of the BMW M1, a pair of Corvettes separated by 25 years. Surprised the Stingray isn't in here though, because that is also a B-class car with pop-up headlights, so I'm not sure why that isn't included. But yeah, we've still got two fantastic Corvettes. Then we've got the NSXR, classic Miura, first ever mid-engine supercar, and then a couple of JDM vehicles, the RX-7s, the Spirit R Type A is the best of the two, just because it's got more power, less weight, and it's generally just a more, you know, sports car, focused car. And finally the Porsche 944 Turbo, one of my favourite Porsches, quite frankly. So yeah, as you can see, pretty much all the way around the same as each other. The heaviest is obviously the newest Corvette, but that's also the most powerful at 405 horsepower. First American car to get over 400 horsepower in a good 20 odd years or so. So yeah, we're going to go for the 944 Turbo first. So like I said, it is one of my favourite Porsches. It's not the fastest car here, as you can see, 4.9 acceleration, but you can see it's pretty much in line with the rest. It's just not the quickest because the RX-7 has, as you can see, more power and a lot less in the way of weight, but still this has plenty of torque, and yeah, it's pretty good in terms of handling. Brakes aren't the best, but then again it is a 30 odd year old car, so it's no surprise. But then again, it doesn't weigh particularly much either, so it doesn't need the best of brakes because it doesn't weigh so much that you got a lot of momentum to slow down. So yeah, let's see what it can do. Now this might struggle a little bit because it is a turbocharged car, so unless you're in the right gear at the right time, you're not going to have much in the way of power. So hopefully that isn't the case, but it is a flaw with turbocharged cars. Off the line, we're pretty sharpish. Yeah, those Corvettes definitely got the most power here, but like I said, they are the heaviest cars here as well. We, on the other hand, are a little bit less in weight, probably a little bit more nimble, I imagine. We ain't got a great big whopping V8 up front, only a 5-cylinder in this. Although if you want to talk about lightweight engines, then the RX-7s have the lighter engines with their wonderful rotary engines. It's because there's so very little in the way of parts in those kind of engines. Slipping and sliding around a little bit in these damp conditions. on. Right. At the front of the lead pack. I'd say these three that we'll be competing against are probably the apex of this kind of car to choose from. Obviously you've got the big powerful V8 from the Corvette, but then you've got the gimbal handling of the RX-7 and the NSXR. RX-7 has pretty good weight distribution, it's 50-50. Which for a front engine car from, you know, the 90s is really quite impressive. Come on, catch up on the Corvette. We're in the lead as we enter into the last lap. Slide around the corner. Yeah, this is a very good handling car, this. Very easy to play with, but at the same time it's also more than capable of being serious when you need it to be. It's a big shame that Porsche don't do any front engine rear wheel drive sports cars nowadays. I don't know why they've suddenly decided that we don't need to do any of that kind of thing, because obviously you also had the was it the 968 after this, and then you obviously had the big V8 engine 928 as well. So it's not like Porsche have never done this kind of thing before, or more than once before. And obviously you have the 924 as well, so yeah, they had plenty of front engine rear wheel drive cars back in the 70s, 80s and early 90s, but ever since then they just completely ditched them, which is a bit of a shame. But regardless, yeah, this 944 did really well there, despite being up against more powerful competition like the RX-7 Spirit A and the Corvette. Or Spirit R even. Anyway, I don't know why I always call it the Spirit A. But yeah, those two obviously right behind us, with the NSXR not far behind. So yeah, but still everything to play for even with this win. So let's move on to the second race. Right, so we're on another circuit race for this one. So I think we're going to go with... I'm tempted by the M1 because it's a really good handling car. Not the quickest again like the Porsche, but it does have more power and even less in the way of weight, as you can see. So yeah, I am tempted by it purely because it's not a car I feel like we've used before. Yeah, I'm going to go for it. It's got pretty good handling, it's probably one of the better handling cars here. It doesn't weigh very much, got a decent amount of power. It's only really the braking that looks like it might let it down. So yeah, let's see what it can do. First ever mid-engined BMW. Technically only one of two, because I guess you could call the i8 a mid-engine car as well. I'm pretty sure that is mid-engine, so yeah, but there's a good 30-year difference between the two, so not something BMW have often ever done. And this initially was supposed to be a racing car, but apparently didn't get much success in that regard, either due to the car itself or the road rate or the racing series itself not lasting very long. But either way, it's a shame that the road car itself didn't live on long. But one thing that did last with this car is the engine, which, as I'm sure you know, ended up being in the M5 and the M3, their first ever iterations, and as I say, the rest is history. So at least the engine itself was subsequently successful in other cars from BMW, but it's a shame that this car itself wasn't successful enough on its own right. this is that cracking car at the end of the day. It's a good slide. I think that's purely because it's a little bit damp out there. Brakes are definitely the weak point, unfortunately. Let's brake a little bit early. There is some understeering at times. Past our fellow M1. Quite frankly, I think this car in some respects came out at the wrong point for the BMW. Had they been more well known for their, you know, their high-end sports cars, which outside of maybe the 2002 Turbo they weren't really known for at the time, then this probably would have been more successful. But had they delayed it, or had it come across at another time, you might have got the engine in the M5 and the M3, so maybe they wouldn't have been born. But so yeah, it's all about what if, really. But at least we can still get to experience this car in some regard on this game, even if, you know, it's not really the kind of thing BMW are doing. But regardless, we got a win there. Not as big of a win as last time, because the fellow M1 was right behind us, as you can see, less than half a second in it, but still a win is a win. So yeah, let's see if we can make it a triple win for this series by getting on to the third and final race. Right, so for this final race, we're going to go in a classic. What classic is the more important question, because surprisingly the Corvette has one of the best handling stats here, despite weighing more than any other car as well. And its acceleration is pretty sharpish as well, but I'm also tempted by the Miura. One of the weaker acceleration stats here, as you can see, 3.8, 3.9 for the Corvette, so yeah. I think we'll go for the Corvette though. It's got the most power here, and it feels a bit of a missed opportunity to not go for a car that has the most power. And the handling isn't pretty bad either, even though the braking isn't much better than the BMW, despite it being a far newer car. But then again, that's an American car for you, and it's more about the power than anything else, but just so happens to have good handling as well. So yeah, let's see what it can do. I don't think we've used this on a race before either, like the BMW, so it should be interesting to see what it can do. I think I remember Clarkson slating this car and back in one of his old DVDs, where he machine gunned it while it was driving in the desert, so yeah. But hopefully it's good enough to at least win this race. As you can see, it's one of the few instances before you know, like late 2000s and 2010s where an American V8 actually revved quite highly as well, 7,000 RPM, which you wouldn't get in your fellow Mustangs or Camaros or anything like that for a while longer. Like I said earlier, this is the first American car to breach the 400 horsepower mark in quite some time as well. I haven't really seen that since the early 70s, so definitely get the sense that this is American V8 power coming back in a big way. Also saw that with the likes of the Mustang and the Camaros from the later part of the decade or early 2000s. They're getting in excess of 300 horsepower. You know, isn't as much as they used to get, but definitely a lot more than they were getting in the late 70s and the 80s. Oh, there's those brakes not working particularly particularly well, sorry BMW. Well handle okay, but once that grip really goes out, it's not a very easy car to control. Then you combine that with the brakes, which aren't particularly good, and then you've got a pretty hairy car in your hands, especially given how quick this car actually is, because yeah, it might be 27 years old, but it doesn't feel like a car of that age given how quick it actually is. While also not exactly being a supercar. It is a little tricky, this car, to keep under control, but it's probably a little bit more rewarding than some cars because of that. I feel like you've actually worked to get it around the track. But definitely easier cars to drive from this period. Come on, let's use the most of this power on this straight. Should gobble up the RX-7. But despite the Miura being a lot older than us, it's hardly a slouch. At the end of the day, that Miura might have 55 horsepower less than we do, and a lot less in the way of torque, but it's a lot lighter. And dynamically, being mid-engine and rear-wheel drive, it's not exactly a car that shows its age that much. And obviously it does have a bigger engine, V12 rather than this V8, although we do also have more cubic capacity. And as the Americans say, there's no replacement for displacement. That's kind of ringing true right now. Final little corner coming up. Again though, not a massive, lead over second place there, but a little bit more than the previous race. Just got into 4 minutes for the race overall, so yeah, pretty sharpish that Corvette, even if it is a little bit tricky at the limit. Definitely feel the grip going quite easily once it does go, but regardless, it has gotten us the 20 points, meaning we get 60 overall, 12 ahead of the Miura and 18 ahead of the Spirit R. So yeah, overall a fun race, but it ultimately gives you 5 points towards getting the new car added to the game, the Morris Traveller, which is a pretty decent car. It's nothing spectacular or anything, but it is nice to have it re-added to the series, as we hadn't had it since the previous game. So yeah, it is nice to finally get that. So yeah, 5 points towards getting that car in this festival playlist, and yeah, you get a lot of fun out of these cars while doing it as well. So yeah, nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.